All right, game time decisions on a Wednesday night on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, Gabriel Morency. We are basketball. I am even tempted, Gabe, to just ignore the WBC result yesterday.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you. Like your style, actually. And if I was you, I wouldn't even bring it up. That's what I did. Like after Team Canada and USA hockey game was like a Sunday morning, right? Like at 8 a.m. By Monday, I was like, man, big slate of college basketball tonight, eh, guys? Like I was throwing different. Hey, what do you think about this in the NFL? Huh? Like, anything but. Like, I was like anything but. Same way with the Buffalo Bills after our annual choke job and loss, Kevin. I'm like, yeah. I don't even talk about it. People are, I can't wait for Morency to break down. I'm like, no, I'm not even going to bring it up ever again. That's my new thing. I just pretend it never happened.
It's a good move. The problem is we have talked so much about the WBC, like we would kind of be robbing people a little bit. I will just say, I was obviously rooting for them, and I bet them. And yet when I watched Venezuela celebrate, I was legitimately glad that the U.S. lost. Like, they truly didn't deserve to win. They barely understood the rules. Only like a handful of them actually cared. And they still almost won. I still can't believe Tariq Skubal got a silver medal for I don't know what within this whole
rainstorm.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be, you know what? If anything goes wrong for Tariq, he's got a great future as an Uber driver. He can handle the conditions, apparently, we found out. The tournament was a blast.
You saw the emotion,
Venezuela deserved it, man.
You saw the emotion. And listen, I saw AJ Przinsky bring up a good point, and I like AJ. And he said, it's not like the American players didn't want it as much. He said the culture of the game is different in America. They were brought up in a different style. And Bryce Harper always talks about this, right? About, I wish people had more fun in baseball, and I try to do it, and I get called out for it. He likes the Latin influence because those guys just don't care what you think, and they're going to do it their way. But let me ask you, Kevin, if like the Lopez, the manager of Venezuela, said he had three Major League Baseball teams call him and like were crying about the pitching use and don't do this and don't do that. And then DeRosa said after that he respected San Diego's request that Miller only pitches in a save situation. Like, what's the difference? Like, he should have been brought in a tie baseball game. Like, I would hold a grudge against San Diego personally. Like, if I was a hardcore fan, to be like, dude, you even had a day off. So what? He pitched an inning 2 days ago, and he can't pitch it. Like, you're calling. Like, shouldn't the Padres be, best of luck, man, if you need Miller, like, you know what I mean? Like, you call Miller and go, bro, whatever you got to do, we totally understand. I don't like the baseball can pretend, Kevin, this is great and we support it. Behind the scenes, all these jackass GMs were harassing the managers hours before the biggest game of their life.
So, no, Gabe, I'm so glad you brought it up, though, because that's kind of when I say that all the other teams cared, it's not just, look at how they celebrate versus the U.S. You're right. The cultures are different. I'm talking about stuff like this, right? Where we didn't hear about restrict. You know what we heard about out of the,
Boyd, Kevin, sorry. Matt Boyd decides to leave because, starting pitcher for the Cubs. I got to go. It's like, dude, you can stay and still be the starting pitcher of the Cubs. Schoolboy, I need to be with my boys in Detroit. Well, because it's critical that you're there to go to Hooters for lunch and play golf with them, right? Like, what are we doing?
Building a relationship with Framber Valdez like it's a quarterback wide receiver combination. Yeah. It's nonsense, right? And that's kind of but the best of it all is DeRosa like only a save situation. Brother, what situation were we supposed to be in here? We were batting second.
It's
what are you talking
yeah,
about?
Exactly.
Like, and that to me, I think you compare the two managers. The Venezuelan manager is like ducking phone calls. Like, I don't got service in the stadium. DeRosa, I think, cares so much about getting back into the bigs. He's probably calling those teams. He's like, hey, San Diego, you sure you want him to go? I mean, big season ahead, fellas. We might win 85 games. Like, what? It's just, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. But, Gabe, let's get to this point. he benches Gunnar Henderson and Pete Crow Armstrong, who are two of the 5 best hitters on the team, because of a lefty-lefty matchup, and then no one can get a hit off Eduardo Rodriguez. It's insane.
I can't listen. There were a lot of little managerial mistakes made, and I can't help. I thought it was a little too soon, a little bit too cruel, but there were a lot of gifs and memes right after the game last night of DeRosa saying, "Don't worry, it's a 5-game series. We'll get him tomorrow."
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a part of him that was like, "Are we sure? Like, let's flip through the rule book
Kevin,
of this whole thing."
You and I talked about this. Like, let's just do a quick thing. Who came out good and bad experiences here? All right, good and bad experiences in the WBC.
Yep.
Seattle Mariners, just a nightmare. Like, Randy Arozarena causing problems. Cal Raleigh didn't get a single freaking hit in the entire event. Was a big jackass. Refused to shake people's hands. Ends up getting benched and doesn't play. Right? Like, so that's not good. Like, he's going to be all rattled. He's going to get booed, bro. The Savannah Bananas are mocking him. Like, it's a thing now. Like, people at the ESPYs, there'll be jokes at the ESPYs about him now and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've become sort of like this punchline. Sucked for you. But I saw somebody tweet out today. There was Jordan Moore, actually, a baseball writer. He pointed out the Kansas City Royals, Kevin. Dude, the Royals. Like, they came out of this like kings. Bro, the best Italian players are on their team. Right? So they had the Team Italy on their team. 3 champions, including so you got Ranger Suarez, you got the MVP in Garcia, you got Perez, you got 3 champions from Venezuela, you got Bobby Witt in the mix here. It was almost like a WBC All-Star team. Like, I'm high on the Royals win total, actually, Kevin. Like, I'm already thinking ahead. I'm like, you know what? Royals are going to be pretty pumped. You have a bunch of happy Venezuelans in the room. The Italian guys are going to be stoked, right? Witt's a stud player. Right, like you
Bobby Witt's one of the only few Americans who didn't embarrass himself, which essentially became like a crowning
achievement. How about
achievement.
Bryce Harper with the 2-run shot last night? That was pretty clutch.
It was incredible. Again, and I couldn't believe he left Bryce as the 2-hitter the whole tournament. It's like, oh, that worked. That's the one thing that worked out for him, is like Bryce finally got it.
When Bryce Harper rounded the base and he was all fired up and he was like pointing. Yeah. He pointed at the U.S. flag on his shoulder. At first, he looked and he pointed, but it was the Capital One credit card patch. So he looked and he was like, oh, and he looked and it was the best. I sort of see it happen in slow motion a little bit. Like, he's like, he looks and he's like, oh, wrong one. It's Capital One patch. He's like, where's the U.S.? Oh, here it is. But yeah, I kind of feel it for Bryce Harper, because his heroic moment is overshadowed, because that was some stud-ass stuff with that 2-run shot.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. It was such a... So that's kind of the element of it, right? Where for the U.S., it's like, oh, so disappointing, so disappointing. They did lose by a run, right? Like, even the DR, like, they lost by a run. Like, the U.S. team was good. It's just everyone, the odds, I shouldn't say everyone, because you were on Venezuela yesterday. It was a great call out. I didn't even tell you. I was like, why didn't he take the run line? Like, he's being greedy with the money line. It was a great call by you. But the U.S. is good. They just weren't way better than everybody else, like people were trying to act.
Sort of like a football team. Like, when we were at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, you could see at the media day and stuff, I was like, man, these Eagle guys are like way more focused, right? Like, the Chief dude, like, hanging with all the hot sort of, girls that were interviewing them and doing dances. I saw Chief players throwing footballs with fans at 2 a.m. outside the hotel on Bourbon Street. Right, you know what I mean? The Eagles are off and just, like, focused,
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I wait until I get the tournament bracket. Then you'll see me start to talk about who makes a run, who's right to get picked off. You go back to last year, look at St. John's, right? They were on a roll. They got Arkansas, who was a better version of St. John's.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I wonder if you could argue UConn's more overseeded than, like, the idea that UConn was battling for a 1 seed, quite frankly, never made any of sense to me when you look at where their metrics were stacked.
UConn will be great as long as they don't play St. John's, apparently, in the tournament. They're good to go there. But you put them at a 5, Kevin. Now here we go again, like last year, Bill Self versus Rick Pitino.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
All right, I took my medicine / vented for 10 minutes. Let's talk about the tournament. At some point, I am sure Gabe and I will kind of talk about where we are. I know people like to figure out the brackets. Are you locked in now? Kind of. Gabe, do you fill out multiple brackets, actually? Let me ask you this. Where do you land on that?
No, like I really, yes and no. And I'm in a couple of contests, actually, obviously, and pools, etc. But I kind of stick to the same theme for the most part. I might do one, like, let's say I'll probably have 5 maybe in the end. So maybe one of them, like, I'll sort of shake up. I might tweak the final 4 a little bit, but I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night. So, you're watching the NFL games and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, like, the dust is settled on the games. They just ended. So I'm all right, let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction, Kevin. Same thing with the UFC. I've been betting the UFC forever. And when the fight is announced, that's my call. I don't want to watch the countdown shows. I don't want to hear what any analyst somebody has to say. I don't care. Like, it's like, no. When the fight was announced, I said, all right, this guy's, he'll beat him. Like, is that, that's not a good matchup for that guy. Like, over-analysis leads to paralysis, I find. So I don't want to. Dude, I was doing it today, Kevin. I was walking down the street. This is like how my mind thinks. Like, I'm a grown man walking down the street, and if somebody wondered, what's going on in this guy's head? What's going on in my head? I was like, maybe UCF will beat UCLA. I was like, I'm not sure about UCLA, actually. Right? Like, so I started, you know what I mean? I'm starting to overthink things a little bit here and there. No, like my Illinois pick. I'm like, no. I said Illinois is going to the Final Four. I'm sticking to it. What did I say yesterday to you, Kevin, too? Remember 2 days when we talked about the bracket on Monday, I said my hot take, Texas wins and then wins again. And they're the catapults out of the play-in. And what did I tell everybody on the show last night? I admitted, I kind of have cold feet and buyer's remorse about Texas.
You still bet them.
Won. They won. Yeah. Barely. Like, you see why they're an 18-14 team. Dear God, man, that was hard for them to close that game out.
They were catching. I kid you not. There was 2 minutes left in that game, and they were laying 9.5 at one point in game.
Wow.
But the streaming, it's too tough to like actually make a bet sometimes, like with the in game and the streaming. But all of a sudden, like NC State 2 possessions later, I'm like, what is going on here? You know what's bad too, Gabe? So we both bet that over yesterday. I gave up on the total so much that it wasn't until I saw your tweet of like, dang, we could have had overtime that I went, Oh my God. Like I wasn't even rooting. I wasn't even rooting.
It was so far off. I started to see it, Kevin, with about 3 minutes left. I was like, you never know. And I was like, and I realized, I was like, oh my God. I was like, dude, this is going to go to overtime at 134. And I was like, doing the math. I'm like, we really don't, we really don't need, we just need a little pop here in overtime. And this might get there. And then boom. That's the second time it's happened to me, man. It was the other game, too. I wanted overtime the other night. I didn't get it because a kid hit the shot. It was in the MAC championship or whatever, I think. Yeah, it was the Akron game or whatever. Like, it hit the shot at the buzzer. Really pissed me off. I wanted to go to overtime. It's happened to me a couple of times now. But, yeah, that was some wild stuff last night. How about the first game being just a flat-out track meet?
Unreal.
As well. Like, just crazy. Like up and down. So now... And full disclosure, so let's get to it. Yesterday, I told you, and I sort of stereotype and regionalize these things a lot. And I said, man, Howard, okay, you won your conference sucks. At least we can hang our hat on UMBC played Vermont. They play, NGIT, etc. The kids from the South were better. Right, they were more athletic. They were better. They were causing turnovers. They were just more athletic, and we're walking into the same thing tonight, Kevin. You and I talked about the Lehigh-Boston University game last week. Lehigh ends up getting it done, but I'll tell you what, Prairie View A&M are a pretty athletic basketball team. They got a kid that drops 21 a game, long, athletic. They don't shoot the ball well, but they fly around. Same thing. They cause turnovers, and they're one of these dangerous teams, guys. They were like 9-16. They were literally 9-16 like a month and a half ago, this team. And they're one of those teams, man. They just been on a freaking tear. And they ran through the conference tournament as underdogs. And here they are right now. I got to pull the trigger with the underdog here. I don't trust laying a field goal with Lehigh here, Kevin. Not unless C.J. McCollum is playing, and he's not.
Yeah, right. So there's a couple of props that I like that we'll talk about, though after yesterday we're all kind of playing for second place as far as best prop pick of the tournament. Shout out Brampton's finest. I was like,
Koji, baby, over 10.5 points. He had 13 like in the first 8 minutes of the game.
It was unreal. I'm like, is he the best player in college? Like this, I was like, this is the best half I've seen since Darren Peterson against BYU. But there's one thing about tonight's games, Gabe, that to me stands out. I'm kind of glad that they're on at the same time, or the same night, I should say. Usually 16 versus 16, 1.5, maybe 2 spread. 11 versus 11, same thing. The 3.5 that Lehigh is laying is a pretty big number with what we are used to. And then, of course, we have SMU, Miami of Ohio, and that type of situation here, Gabe. But it's a little strange to me that we have both of these spots where I'm almost, Gabe, and I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, I'm almost tempted to go double dog on the money line here, where these are supposed to be even teams closer to coin flip games. We're not getting coin flip numbers.
Don't hate that at all, actually, and I'm glad that you bring this up. Like, don't we have to say that I know we're coming up against a break here, guys, but I think we've all spent, and everybody in the media and everybody in the capping world has spent the last couple of weeks talking about everything that's what's wrong with Miami of Ohio. Mm-hmm. Wow, they don't do this, they don't do that, they didn't play this, they didn't play that. As opposed to saying, you know what, they do score 90 points a game, and they are 31-1, right? We're talking about these kids like they're a Make-A-Wish Foundation, like high school team, right? And they're getting 7.5 points tonight.
Yeah, we'll break it down. Talk to Craig Mish next, back on SportsGrid. Game time decisions on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh, one final time about the WBC. Craig Mish isn't going anywhere. We've got a Major League Baseball season that is going to start in a week's time, which is incredible. Of course, you can catch Craig here on Sports Grid. Newswire Pro Baseball Today does an excellent job covering the Miami Marlins, all things Major League Baseball. Craig, just give me an idea. The atmosphere last night, you were in attendance, USA, Venezuela, the World Baseball Classic final, an incredibly close, low-scoring, entertaining baseball game.
Yeah, great game, great classic. That venue in particular in Miami seems to be the spot for me to host this moving forward. I can't imagine them getting a response better than there than they do in Miami. The game itself started off, as you know, Kevin, with Venezuela taking a lead and then very quiet for a while, like 6-7 innings of quiet. Then things sort of picked up at the end. Ironic that the last two games that I have seen on Sunday and Tuesday involving Team USA was just basically home run or not, kind of all or nothing by both sides. Sure. 3-2 obviously is how things went down in the end. And, certainly I have some opinions on why it happened. But yeah, 3-2, congrats to Venezuela. Very hard working effort and job well done.
Yeah, it was a treat to see their celebration, emotions, and what it meant to them. But Craig, I think the story, certainly for us, is the USA not winning this tournament, not winning this game. You said you have some ideas on kind of the how we got here. So give me an idea.
Yeah, so, I was thinking about this while I was watching the game last night. And again, it's no indictment on any team or any player or any manager. I don't think that anybody outside of DeRosa managing would have made a difference. But Kevin, it just really, to me, and I hope people focus in on this, it's playing for the front of the jersey and not the back. I just simply don't think it matters who is playing for these teams when you get to this situation in a Game 7 type atmosphere, championship type atmosphere. Kevin, the USA has nobody to blame for but themselves on the field. They had a great team. They had a great offense. They were, I told you I would take the L today if it was about Skubal. It wasn't about Skubal. What it was about is players from their country in Venezuela, 4 or 5 relief pitchers who are not in the big leagues or some at the back end of their time in the big leagues. One pitcher who has not pitched in the minor leagues in 3 years, playing for their country. And really, that's what it came down to, is that it's a cliche, but Venezuela, in the end, they wanted it more. That's it. Like, I don't know what else there is to say. Nothing would have changed. No complaining. No, when are they going to have it? This could have happened. That could have happened. Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, they all the countries, Italy, they take it very seriously. It's not to say that Team USA doesn't, but USA's lesson from this is that you better take the pool play a lot more serious and start to get concerned if your team is not hitting against Canada, against Mexico, in a game like this, because the other teams may shut you down with dudes you've never heard of before. And that's exactly what happened last night.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that the difference in the game wasn't whether Tariq Skubal started or not. But I think the Skubal piece probably ties into a little bit of what you're saying, the priority of it all. I quite frankly think if you said, hey, Ronald Acuna Jr., your last baseball game ever is going to be this Venezuelan game, right? Or you can keep playing, but you don't get to play in the final. I think he retires on the spot. I think he just plays in that game. That's how much it meant
100%
to those guys, right, Craig?
The only thing is, and look, certainly he was a Hall of Fame player, and I understand that, and the Fox broadcast does a really good job. But if I did have we love complaining, right? I really, me, I'm not somebody that likes to do that. But if I did have a complaint from last night's game, it would have been the comments that Derek Jeter made. Like, I don't understand where in the world those came from to say that, if you say that this is better than the World Series and you haven't played in the World Series, look at the emotion. Look at the emotion from those guys of Venezuela crying on the field, playing for their country.
You know what I think it is, Craig?
To me, that was just so out there. Like, I was very surprised to hear that.
I almost think, Craig, and listen, I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm like the rarest. Derek Jeter's not my favorite Yankee, right? Carmelo Anthony tries to tell people that the Olympic gold medals he won were more important than the NBA championships because he doesn't have an NBA championship, right? So he has the Olympic golds. Like, I think for Jeter, whose legacy is tied to World Series, downplaying it, but it's a misstep by Jeter when the current captain played in a World Series and said everything that he said. So again, it's just it's a bad look for Jeets, but it is what it is. A week from tonight, the current captain will be playing. We'll be talking to Craig the entire way. We appreciate it so much. We'll be right back on Sports Grid. Game time decisions. We're back here on a Wednesday night. We've got the first four matchup, Lehigh and Prairie View. I'm going to throw a prop out here. I like Hank Avley over the 16.5 points. He's the big man on this Lehigh team. To me, when you look at the two leagues, Prairie View A&M coming in from the SWAC, that's an up-tempo league, and they themselves play quick. The Patriot League's very slow. I don't think there's a single team that ranks top 100 in tempo. So I think that creates some value here on the Lehigh player props towards the over. And Hank Avley has been excellent since February. Last 11 games, he's averaged 19.6 points per game. 7 of the 11 games, he has gone over that listed points prop in that stretch. He's getting to the line a ton, shooting about 68% from the floor. I think we see a lot out of Avley here tonight, Gabe, where Lehigh likes to do their work inside. I think that's what Hank Avley brings to the table.
I like where you're going with this. I do think there's going to be points scored in this basketball game, but similar to the NBA, I kind of try to find the secondary guy. And think about this too as well, Kevin. It's an interesting sort of debate to have. Dude, so you get these leading scorers. The coaches have had a couple of days now, right, to sort of sit down and say, all right, this is the kid that we got to stop, right? And then it sort of filters down to the second and the third options. They have to step up come tournament time, because very similar to the NFL playoffs, we're going to take away your weapons. Other people are going to have to beat us, and college coaches are really big on this. So that's why I liked the Koji last night. He wasn't the primary scorer, but I knew, all right, he's still going to be a big part of this thing. And where I'm going with this tonight, guys, is Lance Williams. Unfortunately, he's not from Brampton, Ontario, right? So there's no reference there, but it's from Baton Rouge. But this kid's been on fire, man. He dropped 18 in the championship game. Like I said, guys, this Prairie View team, they were 9-16. Like their season was like done. Like they were falling apart. And they've been, they've gone on a freaking tear over the last like month or so. And Williams has been a big part of this. 18, 18, 12, 17, 4, 11, 12, 18, 11. He's got over 10.5 points scored, guys, in 8 of their last 9 games and 10 of their last 13 games. Incidentally, since they've gone on this streak, he's a big part of it. So we're going to let's go if you have options and you got props available, because they're not available in every state. I get it. But if you can, I like Lance Williams, senior guard, Prairie View, over 10.5 points tonight.
Yeah, love it. Look, again, if you were with us yesterday, I feel like your ears should be perking up a little bit to get involved with a prop like that. I will say this total, along with our night game, is similar to A&M, or NC State and Texas, where the total just keeps dropping. And
yeah,
there comes a point though where there has to be a bit of value on a buyback. And I think a lot of people.
Let me just take this. Let me just take this hook out of my mouth after betting the over last night. Like, God, we all fell for you and I talked about it. I brought it up. I said, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It's almost like, have you seen the movie The Town when they rob Fenway Park? So there's a great scene and they get away, they're about to leave and they kind of realize it's too quiet. You know what I mean? It's too quiet in Fenway Park. They're like, this is too easy. What's going on? And they realize, all right, there's a million cops outside waiting for them. That was last night, bro. 157.5. They were just inviting everybody. Everybody loved the over, right? And if it went to overtime, maybe. But I'm not getting scared off tonight of this one, Kevin. SMU, Miami will be a track meet.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't. And I think that's kind of the key there, right, Gabe, as to whether or not to be scared off. Because I think that's what's going to kind of but I don't only think it's being scared off, because I actually think now people are like, oh, it's just under. Like the Lehigh, Prairie View, A&M total keeps dropping lower as well. It could create some good in-game opportunities as well, right? But with SMU, Miami of Ohio, Gabe, and obviously, it's important we give people picks, but people are so interested in, will Miami of Ohio win? And the one thing I just want to say out of the gate here is, if they do win, people better give them some level of respect. It doesn't mean they're going to go on some incredible run or win a bunch of games.
They won't.
But they're not.
Great. It's a great point that you bring up, Kevin. If they do, people are going to say, oh, SMU aren't very good anyways. Yeah. I guarantee you they will not get the love from the people that already are like the haters.
And I'm not a huge fan of this team, but they are a 7.5 point underdog in this game. They are being given from an 11 versus 11. You do not see numbers like this. You just don't.
Playing, Kevin, less than an hour from their campus.
Yeah.
Think about that on top of what you're talking about.
I just wanted to say with Miami of Ohio, the one element, so we've talked all year that they've not had a tough schedule. But what I feel like is being lost a little bit is the unknown and the variance that then comes, where there are a lot of teams in this tournament who have Northern Iowa has lost to every good team they've played this year, right? And they're being given a chance to beat St. John's, by the way. I understand Miami of Ohio hasn't beaten anyone, but remember, they have not played anyone. And they're the exact type of team that can pull off upsets, because they just show up and they bomb threes. Like an NBA team, they're like sick, first to 100. What do you want to do? And the more I'm talking about this, I am absolutely going to fire on a Miami of Ohio team total specifically. Because you know what, Gabe? I don't even want to root on SMU. Tonight, I'm going to back the little guy here. And I'm going to back Miami of Ohio to just shoot 1 million threes and hopefully make about 500,000 of them.
Yeah, you know what? You don't want to overthink things in a tournament. Just like, let's have some fun with it, right? It's like trying to do a Rubik's Cube here, bro. Lehigh, Prairie View, A&M. Right? Pick a side, shut up, and move on. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's the tournament. We're all going to bet every game. It is what it is for the most part. Maybe not every game, but you know what I'm saying? Right? You just sort of, you fire away and don't overthink this. But to put in context, guys, as we stated, just if you're thinking about Miami of Ohio, number one, they didn't play anybody because nobody wanted to play them. Point blank. All right. Like they got a veteran team. It's been brewing. Dude, they won like 23, 24 games last year, too, guys. So it wasn't like this came out of nowhere. Like they've literally been dominant for like 2 years now. And in the coaching community, the other coaches knew, no, don't book those guys early in the season. Like they're good and you're going to lose. Like no one wanted to play them. So this is their opportunity right now. But dude, there's only a couple of teams in college basketball that score more points than they do. Alabama, 91.7, Arkansas, 89.9, Georgia, 89.8, Texas A&M, 87.7, Miami of Ohio, 87.2. Miami of Ohio are the 5th highest scoring team in college basketball. They can score. As Kevin just stated, they shoot, man, and they're not scared to shoot. They'll take it to the rack as well. They hit their free throws. They're, you know what I mean? They're a good offensive basketball team. Now, you look at SMU, guys. SMU can get after it as well. These guys average 83.9 points per game, which is 22nd in college basketball. But SMU have kind of faltered down the stretch here. They lost 7 of their last 9 games outright. And I don't know if you agree with this, Kevin, but I personally think if you're Miami of Ohio, number one, let's say they were undefeated and they were playing in this game, hypothetically. You'd only be getting 3. We're getting more points suddenly because they lost the game. And number 2, the pressure was getting to them as it was, right? It had been a couple of weeks of like crazy endings and big drama. It's an albatross around your neck, that whole thing. Oh, about being undefeated. Imagine the hype guys coming into the NCAA tournament around these kids if they were undefeated. Now nobody's even talked about them. Now they get to regroup. The bubble has been burst. All right, forget about it. Our goal wasn't to go undefeated. Our goal was to get to the NCAA tournament and win games. They have opportunity to do it tonight, Kevin, and I'm going to be on it. As you stated, they're playing for every little guy in mid-major in America against the big, evil Bruce Pearl and Auburns of the world and the SMU oil money. Let's go, Miami.
The crazy thing I just realized is Akron is catching the same number to Texas Tech. We'll be right back on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I wait until I get the tournament bracket. Then you'll see me start to talk about who makes a run, who's right to get picked off. You go back to last year, look at St. John's, right? They were on a roll. They got Arkansas, who was a better version of St. John's.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I wonder if you could argue UConn's more overseeded than, like, the idea that UConn was battling for a 1 seed, quite frankly, never made any sense to me when you look at where their metrics were stacked.
UConn will be great as long as they don't play St. John's, apparently, in the tournament. They're good to go there. But you put them at a 5, Kevin. Now here we go again, like last year, Bill Self versus Rick Pitino.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions back on a Wednesday night. I just want to pick up off something we were just talking about with Miami of Ohio. And sometimes I talk about kind of spread math of, A plus B, like, do we get to see kind of situation here? And I know that, just using Ken Palm, Akron grades out as a better team than Miami of Ohio, despite Miami of Ohio obviously having, run through that conference in the nature that they did, being 18-0 in the regular season. But it's very interesting to see Akron as a 12 get the same exact amount of points against Texas Tech as you're seeing Miami of Ohio get against SMU. And I think the world where Miami of Ohio finishes it off, and they're, whatever it would have been, 33-0, 34-0, and they replace Akron, and they are playing Texas Tech. I'm not saying it's 7.5, but I don't think it's 13.5, 14.5 here, where I think almost the design of Miami of Ohio was to bet against this team if they were unbeaten and bet on them if they lost a game. And we are here tonight after they lost a game. So it kind of changes things a little bit. Gabe, I'm going to stick with the bracket. We'll get to the NBA. We'll get to the NHL before we get out of here. But, you talked about not overthinking things, right? And, putting together kind of, your Final Four and whatnot. But obviously, there's also just then the betting of the bracket or betting of the results here, right? So everyone has their national championship bets. Have you started to place any, or will you place any of the Sweet 16, Elite Eights kind of, or national championship exact matchup, right? Final Four parlay, these type of options that are out there with the books?
Yeah, I will. Tonight will be the last night, Kevin. It's almost like the Christmas Eve as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be up at 2, 3 in the morning tonight, just scrolling through different books and seeing, all right, what have I missed here and there? I don't want to get too cute and exotic. I want to have a bankroll for the games themselves, which to me, the bracket is cool and all that, but it's about, having positive success throughout the day. But I did place the bet, Kevin, of Duke, Michigan, Arizona versus the field, minus 150. So that's one I put in. Now, for the record, I think the Michigan, those are the teams that I think are going to win as well. Although with an outlier, I've got Illinois, and I'll just cut to the chase. I think out of, it's all chalk, right? So Michigan is chalk to get to the Final Four. Arizona is chalk to get to the Final Four. Duke is chalk to get to the Final Four, although I think Duke could potentially have problems along the way, maybe with Kansas or St. John's. And for the record, Kevin, I don't know how you feel about this, but you see the team often, although you might have to call somebody named Rocco or Frankie or something to get the play in since you're in New York. You got to find a bodega somewhere. But St. John's is going to murder Northern Iowa, bro. They're going to murder.
Yeah. It's funny.
You hear these people, Northern Iowa, this and that. Like, Northern Iowa want to slow the game down and, like, muck it up and, like, be tough and stuff. It's not going to work against St. John's. Like, it really won't. Like, they're just going to bully them. They're going to dunk in their face. St. John's going to take 1,000,000 free throws and stuff. You're better off, like, running and gunning with St. John's. Like, in Northern, like, to me, stylistically, like, I don't think it'll be a problem for St. John's. I know some people are hyping that one up. I'm not feeling that one. I think the Johnny's in the play.
So it's funny you mentioned you want to run if you're going to do it, right, with this team. If you look, the only teams that St. John's have really lost to are good offenses, right? Alabama, Kentucky, also when they had their point guard. Even Providence, right, is the team who upset them.
You got to you got to make them get into a track meet. Exactly. Like Northern Iowa, it does not have it won't be a problem for St. John's.
Yeah, they're a bottom 5 team in tempo.
Yeah.
Northern Iowa is.
One of those. For the record, Texas are only getting 2.5 against BYU. And I think BYU have enough to get it done here, Kevin. Just for the record, let's throw it out there after watching Texas. We were on Texas last night.
Yeah.
They got it done barely because NC State are a train wreck. And now you got a rested BYU team waiting at Portland, Oregon for these guys. I like BYU here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up on BYU as well. I haven't played that one yet. I just wanted to say with St. John's, Northern Iowa, it's one of those games where I'm going to try and zag on this perception of Northern Iowa's going to dictate the tempo, under, and I'm probably just going to play that total over. Where if St. John's can dictate the tempo and make Northern Iowa play from behind, the game gets sped up, and then that number's going to go over by 10, 15 points. It's such a low total. So, again, I've placed, I think, about 7 games so far for Thursday. I'll probably have most of round 1 done tonight. We can fire them off before we get out of here and kind of different things like that. The one thing, Gabe, that I am considering placing, but I was curious if you thought it was a good number. And you like one of the teams, what the other, I know you don't have in your Final Four, but is a Michigan-Florida exact national championship. I'm seeing around 10-1. Again, I know you're on Illinois, but I was like, is that a good enough number to actually nail the championship game? I didn't think so either. I thought I would be getting better than that.
I don't think so. When you consider the rarity, and I know Florida have repeated before, but you consider the rarity of going back-to-back, this Florida team isn't as good as last year's team. And Michigan are far from a lock from winning it all, right? They should get to the Final Four, but Michigan haven't won a national championship since 1989, right? So it's not like Michigan have done this either. They're always good. They're always right there, but they've always fallen short. They've made it to 1 million title games over the years, Michigan, since they won in '89 against Seton Hall. But since then, you had the loss to Duke. You had the loss to North Carolina. You had the loss to Louisville. You had the loss to Villanova. It's been just sort of one heartbreak after another for them. Can they finally break through? But I'm curious, what's a Michigan, because in all Big Ten, so I'm thinking outside the box here, what's a Michigan-Illinois exact pay? Michigan versus Illinois exact final.
Let's see here. So Michigan, the FanDuel numbers, by the way, I don't know if they're the best for this, but I just have them in front of me. About 20-1. It's they're not giving you a lot. It's almost
more.
like you have. Yeah, they're not giving you great numbers. All right, we'll fly through it all.
For you after too.
Oh boy.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I wait until I get the tournament bracket. Then you'll see me start to talk about who makes a run, who's right to get picked off. You go back to last year and look at St. John's, right? They were on a roll. They got Arkansas, who was a better version of St. John's.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I wonder if you could argue UConn's more overseeded than, the idea that UConn was battling for a 1 seed, quite frankly, never made any sense to me when you look at where their metrics were stacked.
UConn will be great as long as they don't play St. John's, apparently, in the tournament. They're good to go there. But you put them at a 5, Kevin. Now here we go again, like last year, Bill Self versus Rick Pitino.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we got a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it, but Gabe said he had a trick question, which piques my interest. So we'll figure out the rest after that. What do you got, Gabe?
Okay, trick question. And I saw this prop up here, and I was almost like, oh God, like almost like I found like a wallet on, you're looking around. Like, I was like, man, this is a steal. All right, any game to be won on a buzzer beater. Plus 100, yes.
I think that's our guy Pat Foster's like best bet. Like, he's been telling everyone about it, but he was telling me, he goes, I almost won last night, and I went, I don't even think that would have counted. Like, I think he should be lucky that didn't happen last night.
Yeah, the 1 second, that's not a buzzer beater. Like, buzzer beater is no more shots, game over. Right? Because, last night, because I thought about it too. I was like, damn, it nearly happened. Right? Already. It nearly happened. And then I realized, it's 1 second left. That's not a buzzer beater. It's not a last second shot where game winning. Like, no, buzzer beater is game over, shot goes in. Get this, Kevin. In the history of the NCAA tournament, there's only been 44 of them.
Wow.
That's a trick question. You would never imagine that, huh? Last year, there was one. Derek Queen. One.
Right.
Like, so when you think buzzer beater, and I love NCAA tournament, all the buzzer beaters. There has been 44 in the last, 80 years. Like, so.
Man, that's funny, right?
Man.
No, you're right. If you're like, hey, name all the buzzer beaters. Like, there's only two, right, that come to mind. The Jenkins 3 for Nova.
Leitner.
And the Jordan. Well, I'm talking about, immediately, that Jordan Poole 3. I don't know what it is. I feel like I must have watched that whole game as a kid, because I've always rememred that Jordan Poole 3
I was in Vegas for that game. There's a video of me celebrating in the casino, running around.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget the Gonzaga one against UCLA.
Oh, right.
Suggs.
Yeah. Okay, but there's a couple.
But I looked it up. There's only 44. But let's get to the picks.
All right, I'll bat lead off. I got a lighter card tonight, mainly because a lot of my stuff for the next 2 days is going to be placed tonight, so I didn't want to go nuts. Hank Avley over the 16.5. He's in action right now. Brant Byers for 2 made threes tonight. I said Miami of Ohio is going to be loading threes. I think there's a 3 light. Minus 125 on FanDuel. Other books around minus 150. I think Byers makes a couple of triples. And then I'm kind of going back to the Lakers against the Rockets. I took their team total at 110.5. It's a good spot for Houston because they're home again, but I think the Rockets hate each other. I want nothing to do with Houston, so I'm playing the Lakers offense to bounce back after a bad fourth quarter kept them outside of this number. I think they score at least $115 tonight here, Gabe.
I'll tell you what, that's going to be a low point for the Rockets if they lose again here. There's going to be the cracks are going to begin to show. Losing to the same team on your home court in a 48-hour span. Another big game, though, as far as the standings are concerned. The Lakers are red hot. All right, speaking of red hot, I'm going to pass up a 31-1 basketball team getting 7.5 points. It opened at 8.5 and 7.5 now, so we got to deal the number that it is. Give me the over as well. SMU and Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio's weakness is they don't rebound the ball very well. And I'm being kind. They get murdered on the glass all the time. That's why they give up a lot of points. SMU are going to kill them on the glass tonight. Miami's got to hit their threes, but Yigatolu over 7.5 rebounds. SMU. I don't like going back to the same player all the time, but we gave you points the other night. But I tell you, Kevin, he's on the hottest team, and he's like the hottest player on the hottest team in the NBA. No one talking about him. But Jalen Johnson, over 9.5 rebounds tonight, minus 145. The guy's a double-double machine. Dallas do not rebound the ball well. They're ranked 27th in the NBA in rebounding. Look for Jalen Johnson to continue his dominance. And fun hockey game tonight. Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche are going head-to-head. Should be a track meet. Let's go over 1.5 in the first period.
Quickly on the hockey, I'll give a shout out. Big Iron Scruff watches the show and gave both Gabe and I credit for a hockey parlay. You want to talk about getting an A+ on a group project doing nothing. I looked at those 4 picks. I went, I don't think I said one of those games, Gabe.
Yeah, you know what, though? We didn't put a lot of time on it. I just sort of casually rattled them off at you. I was like, oh, yeah, in the NHL. They all won. All 4 of them.
Yeah, which is great. Some hockey here from the crew. Yeah, they got the Senators Capitals under for Sam. Chris with a little team total parlay for this game that's live right now. Prairie View A&M Lehigh. AJ backing the favorites, Gabe. Backing
Wow.
the big powerhouse SMU. That's not like AJ, man. You can see Gabe's disappointed.
Teams, you should be taking the dog here, bro. Come on.
NBA Central sent out a tweet yesterday. Hornets announcer Eric Collins says Jalen Duren is one of his favorite players to watch. Quote, I like talking about that body of his cut up like coleslaw, end quote. Interesting.
Yeah. Not quite sure what the reference to coleslaw is. No idea, Donnie. I have no idea.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's not sustainable. Pitches throwing too hard and not being healthy, so that don't benefit anybody as well. So it's better to, if a guy throwing 97, why not just throw 94, 93 and learn how to pitch? And then you can last longer. So it's more about keeping the product, on the field and being on a consistent basis.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here if you can pick the perfect bracket. Sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
They're going to want to lean on Kenneth Walker, especially early in the season, because Patrick Mahomes is coming off that torn ACL. Adding a high-end, proven running back next to him just gives him a little bit of time to say, hey, we're going to be run heavy early in the season as Mahomes kind of gets back up to speed, tests out that knee, and feels fully comfortable there. So I think Walker ends up being a big-time fantasy asset.
Newswire. Only on